Hey guys, welcome back to the Lit Mag Lab podcast. I'm Jazz Marie, aka Vebnaforo. So previously on the podcast, I was going over Ola. Yeah, OLA. That is a new submission management system that has launched this year. And yeah, essentially it is replacing Oleada, which you may recall again from a while back on this podcast, right? I had covered it in episode 54. So Oleada will be no more in February 2026, and then Ola, right, comes into place there. So anyone, right, interested, right, can totally check out Ola on this podcast. Again, I've covered a wide array of different submission management systems, and yeah, so one of those being Dapple again, right? So this is going to be a really, really quick. I always say that, so just know it may be a fib there. Not necessarily quick, but just a general update on Dapple because some things have changed since that episode. If I recall, it was 52. Yeah. And just an overview episode that I did on Dapple. And by that, I mean just covering, pricing plans, my thoughts on it. And yeah. So just a couple days ago, I actually released a Q&A with the CEO and co-founder Oz Osbaldeston. I apologize if I mispronounce any last names, but that's Oz and then Osbaldeston. And yeah, so if you're interested in learning how Dapple started, getting some insight on more of the key features, and yeah, again, I'm doing some really cool and fun Q&As with the founders of these submission management systems, right? That, submitters interact with, right? And, founding editors, leverage for intaking submissions, there are a lot of options on the table, especially this year, which I think is really cool to see. So again, on this podcast, right, Dapple, right, I've covered and talked about, and Subfolio, right, which Dippity Lit Mag is on, currently, and then Ola, right, just the past podcast episodes, so you can listen back to that if you're interested. And yeah, I've covered Moksha as well. I think they're a little bit, outside in terms of pricing, and affordability for most as of 2025. But yeah, still has a lot of really cool features, and quite a lot of publications use it to date. Duosuma, of course, is usage based, and yeah. So in terms of plans and pricing, right, I shared on the past podcast episode. You can see my screen again on YouTube, Spotify, and elsewhere. But yeah, I think it's unique that Ola again has that $20 one-time fee for a one-time submission call, and then they have a standard publisher plan, $20 a month, and then a premium plan, $34.99 a month, right? Premium plan. So they have it looks like currently a 60-day free trial for early users in their beta phase. And yeah, they're just getting up and going. And then yeah, so again, I think on the roadmap they have a lot of really awesome features on the way. And yeah, with Ola, so I again will be doing Q&As with as many as possible, right? So there is one actually being released on Subfolio next. So if you are interested, do drop by the LitMag Lab Substack, right, and check it out. The Q&As and interviews I'm doing with the founders, if you're interested in learning more, how they started. And yeah, the submission systems they have, right, you're entering your personal data into them, you're entering data, your work into them. So I think it's important to, be aware of the capabilities of them, right? Some of the key features that they have, right, for, resubmitting work to places, tips, features. Some of these absolutely do have that, right? Dapple, Subfolio. And yeah, I think it's good to be aware of the statuses, right? Most of them have standard statuses, right? You're familiar with in progress, accepted, decline, rejected, things like that. But I think it is absolutely important as a writer, artist, or creator, right? And you're submitting to workplaces, right? To be aware of the features, right? On from the submitter side. And then I think, it's also insightful to be aware of, like, some of the things founding editors do in these submission management systems, right? The reading team round features, some of them have, right? And the voting, the scoring, things like that. So, every Litman journal press has, different structures, different review processes, but I think rounds of review are really nice. A lot of places do that with reading teams and, comments and things like that. So, with submission management systems, again, a nice thing is to be able to, like Dapple and Subfolio, right, is to, have messaging in there, right? If you're aware of Submittable, right, you're familiar with some of the things, right, with typical submission management systems, like Submittable. But I think Dapple has a lot of really cool features, Subfolio as well, and Ola. Just all three, right? Launching, really kickstarting this year, and I think it's really awesome to see. So, in terms of Dapple, let's focus back on Dapple here. Some things have absolutely changed since that past podcast episode I did, episode 52. Predominantly, right, the AI assistant tool that they have is no longer there, right? The Ash AI tool. So they just have the smart form generator left, right? They just removed that Ash AI assistant tool, so it's no longer, there anymore. It was optional again, but it's really nice. That they listen to feedback, right, from the community and others, right, and in regards to that, which sort of sparked from, right, Lit Mag News. And there was a video chat you can still watch that's up on Becky's channel on Lit Mag News on YouTube too. And yeah, it's also linked out on Becky's Substack, which is really cool. So Becky was chatting with Oz about, Dapple, and yeah, so from that, all of the community discussions and things like that through Lit Mag News, it led to them, and to intaking, right, user feedback to remove the Ash AI assistant tool. So that's no longer even there. Again, just the smart form generator. So I think that's really awesome to see. Submission management systems, right, really taking feedback and to make adjustments, right, based on that, and to really hear out, right, the users of it, right, creators, writers, artists. And yeah, so Dapple has added a lot of really stellar features since that I covered it on the podcast even too. They've really have taken into consideration a lot of really great feedback from their user system, right, when they're in the beta phase and everything, right. So there's a rating capabilities have changed, I think, right, absolutely. I have done a trial of Dapple myself, and yeah, just to get a feel for the navigation, the features. And yeah, they have a really great submission management system they've created. I think absolutely it has some really awesome standout features, compared against Submittable. I'm not saying Submittable is bad, or anything like that. I'm just saying, right, every submission management system, right, out there in existence has room for improvement. I think if you ask a lot of founding editors in the community, or those who have used Submittable quite some time, yeah, they'll say there are things they wish would change, or some things that they wish they didn't have, a thing like where it says, oh, to use this, you have to upgrade, right, and Submittable, right, on the CLMP membership discount plan, right, where you get a lot of the features stripped down to the minimum, right, basic features, right. So yeah, I think it's really nice. Again, some of the things Dapple has added since then. I obviously won't do an update episode every time a submission management system, releases a new feature or something like that. But yeah, some key things, right? Maybe I'll mention it on the podcast now and then, or bring it up, but I won't do like individual updates every single update or release. That'd be way too many episodes, right? So I just wanted to really, talk about that because that changed. And yeah, I really want to say that this feature particularly, I don't know if you can see it on my screen, maybe. Oh, I will say this particular feature, you may have seen it on my screen earlier a little bit, if you're watching. They have this really nice visual submission card feature. I really love that. You can see it, right? I think that's really cool. So, and yeah, it's drag and drop. So yeah, I think this visual card submission feature, as you can see here, I pulled up from their social media feed, is a really standout feature that they have, and can really benefit publications that intake a lot of photography and art submissions. Absolutely. I personally am a very visually oriented person. So I think it's nice again that you can like identify, oh, that's that submission with the koala bear photograph we wanted to publish, or that's that submission that we wanted to have that had a jungle artwork piece or graffiti in it, or it's a great way to quickly identify submissions you're working on. And love the drag and drop again on it, the Kanban board style. I think that's really great and really user friendly. And yeah, so I, I would say again, of course you can conceal, right, identify information, in not every single submission management system, but they do have ability to do that, right. And yeah, So I think in terms of that as a publication, you may just want to, with visual card features like this, just reiterate, right? Please don't, if you have a policy saying don't, put identifying information in your document files, things like that, right, etc. Right, to not have like photographs of the poet or writer artist, right, along with the other photographs, right, of like it could be right a street or nature or whatever the call is. We've had like calls that, Dippy Litmag, for instance, where, others would attach photos of themselves, and we don't do that, until the very end, like ask for photos when we've, done, rounds of review and it reaches an acceptance stage, right? So yeah, as a last step, right, asking for a photograph of the writer or artist, and not everyone, wants a photograph of themselves, right? So, what we do is like a photo of like a pet or something like a cat we've done or something like that. They have a pen name or for privacy purposes, right? Things like that. But yeah, just know I think that's really nice that they have this feature, the visual card feature. Again, I really love you guys know I love visual art and things like that, right? I do a lot of digital collage art, and at Dippity, right, we really have emphasized photography and things like that, right? And yeah, so I love this feature. I think this is really cool and really helpful. So I thought this was so unique, and I was like, oh, that's super cool again. So just wanted to share that. I think it really makes it stand out from other submission management systems. Visually, I think Dapple is one of the submission management styles out there that really has a really beautiful design. My one thing I think when I was doing the trial, I mentioned this in just some notes, right? Was that one of the navigation panels, one of the main navigation panels was on the left hand side. I think just because like I was used to things on the right hand side, mostly with submittable and some other ones on the top. There's a navigation on the top too, but I think some of the main navigations on the left hand side. So I think whenever you're used to other platforms and things like that, it just takes some time, right, to get the hang of them, right? The more you use it, the more you become comfortable with it. But anyways, very cool feature that they have, and yeah, they've added a lot of other nice features, right? In terms of rating, again, star rating and things like that. So it has some great flexibility, in there. Yeah, so I think you can see maybe in the preview. I'm not logged in or anything like that, but on the left hand side, on some of their sample screenshots and stuff, previews, you'll see that left navigation. And yeah, it's not a huge deal. I mean, I think it's just more of a preference for others, some maybe, but yeah, I think it says a lot about a system, if you're able to grasp it fairly quickly, right, in general. Sometimes it just, for everyone, I think it takes a little bit different time. No one has the exact time of like mastering a system. And yeah, for like the submission man systems I've covered, on the podcast, the more recent ones that I've launched this year, like Subfolio, right, which again Dippy Litmag is on, Ola even. I've been doing a trial of Ola, poking around a little bit, and we'll look at it further. I haven't looked at it a ton yet. Dapple even, right, I think have very user friendly systems. Absolutely. I think I really got the hang of Subfolio fairly quickly, and yeah, and then Ola has a very clean design too, and the Dapple as well, I think, has a very awesome design. And yeah, again, love that visual card feature that they have. I think that's one of my favorite things that Dapple has. Absolutely. So yeah, that's pretty much it. They did some updates to their site design. Again, I think I shared on the podcast, right? They have this nice toggle between the US and GBP pricing, and you can do a slide dragger, and sites change right over time. But I think it's nice that they did that, so you can see the plans and stuff, right? And yeah, so they do have a CLMP membership discount and things like that, so that's nice. And yeah, so if you're interested, totally, check out Dapple. Please do be sure to drop by and read this full interview. The Inside Dapple interview with Oz, right? I think it'd really help you if you're looking to choose a submission management system. And I'll be doing more of these with some of the ones I mentioned on the podcast. Not all, of course, but some, especially the new ones that have launched this year. Absolutely. So I think it really helps to learn more about them, right? And have these one-on-one, Q&As with, the submission management system founders, because they are packed with features, a lot of these. And, I think as a submitter, you need to be aware of, again, the capabilities of them. And founding editors, absolutely, it's an important decision, right? Whichever submission management system you choose, you don't want to, right, hop around from system to system, right? Typically it's good to choose one, stick with it long term. I know, again, as we've shared in the Q&As, right, it can be scary to move or leave a system you're used to, anything you've used for a long time for intaking submissions. But I think organization management is so key and important. You want to make sure you are able to keep tabs on everything in terms of submission statuses, keep track of everything. And it's so important to give, submitters, right, a great experience, when they're submitting to you, and you are, able to, very quickly find things again, with, email and things like that. And a bunch of submissions, as we've covered in QA, right? Thousands of submissions. It can be a needle in a haystack situation sometimes, or you can lose track of things. You don't have statuses, and again, as we'll cover in other Q&As, right? Again, the disadvantages of just relying on email. Again, obviously, you're coughing up some money for using these submission management systems, right? But I think it is, for the other plans, right? Based on the structure of your lit mag journal. But I think it's absolutely valuable and worth it, to be organized, because not being organized, not keeping track of everything can be very costly, right? And actually affect your publication negatively, right? In terms of feedback from others and stuff like that. Oftentimes with email, it's just really, really hard. I as well, when I started Dippy Lit Mag, right? Just using, right, Google Forms and email. It was just so, it was like I really had a hard time with it. I think I wanted to, right, start a reading team and collaborate with others and do that. So that's why I started looking at submission management systems, as I shared, right? Oleada, then left for, right, Submittable, right, the CLMP membership discount, and then just this summer left for Subfolio. So again, I'm just doing trials of them to just get a feel of them, give some feedback on some features and things like that, right? Which I covered in that review article a little bit earlier, right? And just gave, a rating, and thoughts. Again, I must say, yeah, Dapple, Subfolio, Ola, very, very cool, the submission management features they have to date in them, absolutely. So, again, if you're interested in learning more about Dapple, after reading the interview, again, just a reminder, they're always available to, reach out to, and inquire about it a bit further, getting a one-on-one demo, scheduling that out. You can ask questions beyond, right, that Q&A I did, and learn more about it. Yeah, and do a trial. You have to, again, do trials of the ones you're interested in to see which one you like, right? What I like is not necessarily what you'll go for, right? But absolutely, obviously, things that are going to factor into your decision, right, are, of course, right, ease of use and, flexibility, and yeah, and then cost, right, fitting your budget, right? You don't want it to, put a hole in your wallet or anything like that. But yeah, I think Dapple, Subfolio, Ola have very reasonable pricing plans overall. Really, really not too bad. So again, Dapple has a wonderful free trial, just to get a feel for it, right? I think it's nice that they offer a free trial, and then they have other plans, and don't forget about the CLMP membership discount, which you can, get with Dapple, and yeah, even, Subfolio, and right, Submittable. But we left Submittable, and then yeah, Dual Summa also has a discount, right? And yeah, Dual Summa, again, for publishers, it's usage based. But yeah, for submitters, right, just a reminder again, the submission management systems, right, it's free to create an account. Just publishers, right, some of them, not all of them, have submission fees, right? But absolutely, there are a lot of fee-free, zero fee down submission opportunities out there in existence. So don't feel, again, you have to, cough up money as a submitter or anything like that. So yeah, completely free to create an account as a submitter. Yeah, Dapple has really done a great job of listening, I think, to feedback, right? And yeah, so just wanted to give an update on since episode 52. There are other features and things they've added since then. Again, I'm not going to cover every single thing each time, but just wanted to really talk about that and share. Yeah. So totally, check out the Q&A again. Read that. There's more on the way. So if you're interested, please do subscribe or drop in some time and read through them. They're under the interview section, and maybe I'll post them elsewhere too. When I get the chance, but I think it's good to centralize things. Yeah. So if you are interested again about, the other Smish Man systems, don't forget to listen back to the overview episodes where I talk about some of them, right? The initial subfolio episode was episode 36. And then submittable, I was talking about submittable, right? Episode 35. More so, I've shared also not just experience as a founding editor, having a reading team using some Smishman systems out there, right? But also from the Smitter side, right? I think it's important to cover both sides, right? The experience there in terms of features and capabilities. So yeah, and then Moksha was episode 85 and Duo Suma was episode 53. Olieta again is being discontinued in 2026, right? February. And yeah, so Ola is the new submission man system to look at, yeah, if you're interested from the past episode. And yeah, so again, I am doing Q&As with a lot of these Mishmant systems, and yeah, it's a lot of fun. So I enjoy learning about them a bit further, how they started, and diving into them. So it's really cool. Again, the capabilities of these Mishmant systems, they have a lot to offer, to make the lives of, publishing teams, right, easier. Lit mags, journals, and presses, I think absolutely right. It's less of a pain, managing things when you can, easily see things, right? I would say overall, I think Dapple stands out visually, against, most Mishman systems out there. Really nice and really cool design, really clean. And yeah, love those visual cards. So yeah, that's all I just wanted to say. I think that's really, really lovely that they have that feature in there and several other features. Really great dashboard and breakdowns of stats, and things like that. And yeah, I think it is more user friendly, I'd say, than submittable. And I think it just, it takes some time to, again, get the hang of some systems, right? And they are totally working on adding more videos to their channels and tutorials, video based ones. They do have a YouTube channel as well. And Subfolio as well has a YouTube channel. Don't forget to check it out. And some of the other ones, I think, have some videos out there. I think even with Moksha, I've seen some, and yeah, some other submission man systems. Not all. They have some videos on them. But yeah, Dapple and Subfolio definitely there'll be videos, and I'm sure maybe with Ola and other ones out there, they'll add more documentation, knowledge based articles to help others, but yeah, a lot already exists with Dapple and Subfolio in terms of that. Ola's just starting up, and a lot of really awesome features that Ola has on the roadmap. So do keep that on your radar, and please do check out the interviews again. So that's basically it, yeah. So again, over time, some submission man systems, they, add some features, refine things based on feedback, Dapple Subfolio Ola, right, just launched this year, technically really kickstarted. So I'm sure over time, some things might change a little bit, maybe next year or maybe some updates. But for the most part, I think a lot of the key features are, fledged out with Dapple and Subfolio. And Ola has a lot of things again on the roadmap, that was on their site, as I shared on that podcast, and even more, I think, will come based on feedback in their beta phase, right? So yeah, just wanted to share this update and take care, guys. Check out Dapple. Again, dapplehq.com, right? And yeah, they have a great, documentation, KB library. Even when you, just, sign up, do a trial, right? Great walkthrough, easy to find, how to do things in it, a great info button you can click on and yeah, we'll be adding more videos. So totally reach out to Dapple if you're interested in, starting up a trial with them or learning more about the capabilities. And yeah, so I think that's pretty much it. So yeah, none of these episodes again are sponsored or anything like that. This is me just sharing, things I come across. So yeah, please do listen back to some of the other episodes on submission man systems. There are, I covered on this podcast form builders, right? But I think they still lack in, capabilities of some submission man systems. But if you're just starting up a lit mag or journal, yeah, it's okay, to get a feel for, everything, and start off with email and an intake form builder. But I think in the long term, it's not ideal to really do that at all. Yeah, so I think episode 56 was where I covered, all of them back to back. Again, Oleada is being discontinued. But yeah, and then totally, I think a lot of really great submission man systems have been launched this year. So a lot of options on the table again. So you have choices, right? More than just submittable. Yeah, so please do check them out and check out the Q&As. PS, guys. So Oz is on the right hand side. I think I lost a bit where I was like circling around on the right hand side. So yeah, I just want to give a shout out and say thanks so much, Oz, for taking the time to do that Q&A. It's really fun again to learn more about these submission man systems, and I think Dapple is really cool. So please do check it out. And yeah, next up, guys, we have Subfolio. Obviously, I'm not going to go through these Q&As with you on the podcast, but you can scroll through and read these. Maybe I'll plug in links in the description to things I mentioned and covered. Again, some of it, not everything, of course, past podcast episodes, but of course, I will plug in links in the description to, some things you definitely should check out. So do look at those. I update them when I can. And just one more update, under for editors and publishers. So I've done an update on nomination events for editors and publishers too. So do check that out. Just put a list together that may help you if you're starting your own lit mag and journal. And yeah, I updated that episode's description, with other ones too. And yeah, so you might want to drop into that. There's a submitter tools and tips section as well. And yeah, so that's pretty much it. Yeah, so check out Dapple, check out the other ones I mentioned. I think the Subfolio pricing page wasn't up, but yeah, you can see it's very friendly too. So a lot of great options on the table in terms of pricing, in 2025, and now carrying into 2026, right, with some Mishmant systems. Very, very cost friendly, right? Absolutely. And yeah, I would say absolutely Dapple, Subfolio, and Ola. And Do Soma too has a lot of really great features, and it's usage based. So, yeah, definitely check them out. I'm more so someone who likes fixed monthly plans, things like that. But yeah, anyways, yeah, check it out. Don't forget, again, I did an episode on the benefits of CLMP, right? That membership, or even just, heading over and checking out CLMP, if you're not familiar with the community of literary magazines and presses. But that's pretty much it. So take care, guys. Officially signing off again. And yeah, check out more of Dapple when you get a chance. Very cool submission man system existence. Yeah.